We're working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Monica Velasco, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines. An emotional Thai army chief on Tuesday urged the nation in mourning over a mass shooting not to blame the army after a soldier gunned down at least 29 people in a rampage linked to a debt dispute with a senior officer. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. has signed the notice of termination of the Visiting Forces Agreement with the United States, the Department of Foreign Affairs confirmed Tuesday. The Film Development Council of the Philippines kicked off Philippine Cinema's centennial year by honoring internationally award-winning film industry members at the agency's 4th Annual Film Ambassadors Night. An emotional Thai army chief on Tuesday urged the nation in mourning over a mass shooting not to blame the army after a soldier gunned down at least 29 people in a rampage linked to a debt dispute with a senior officer.
แต่ละห้องแต่ละชั้นเพราะฉะนั้นอย่าด่าว่ากองทัพบกอย่าว่าทหารนะครับถ้าฉันจะด่าท่านจะตำหนิท่านมาด่าพลเอกอภิรัตน์ของสมพงษ์ผมน้อมรับคำตำหนิการแสดงความคิดเห็นทุกอย่างท่านมาด่าผมเพราะผมเป็นผู้บัญชาการทหารบก
General Apirat Kong Sompong, an arch-royalist more commonly prone to rants against pro-democracy figures, broke down in tears as he apologized during a televised press conference on behalf of the army to the victims of the shooting. The gunman, Sergeant Major Jack Rapanth Thoma, was shot dead by a commando unit Sunday morning, ending a 17-hour rampage that left 29 dead and scores more wounded. The Thai army has been at pains to portray him as a rogue soldier rather than a product of the army system. Apirat said he would not stand down from his post. General Apirat pleaded not to blame the army but to blame him, and instead he pledged to open a special channel to investigate all future complaints from junior officers about their superiors. He blamed the attack on a debt dispute between the gunman and his commanding officer. General Apirat said the gunman did not receive justice from his commander and his relatives, who promised him financial returns, apparently from a commission over the sale of house. Jack Rapanth killed his commander and the commander's mother-in-law first as he embarked on an around 17-hour shooting spree inside a mall. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. has signed the notice of termination of the Visiting Forces Agreement with the United States, the Department of Foreign Affairs confirmed Tuesday. DFA Under-Secretary Brigido Dulay said on his official Twitter account, on the order of the President through Executive Secretary Medea Aldea, Foreign Affairs Secretary Locsin signed today the notice of termination of the Visiting Forces Agreement, which will be delivered to the U.S. Embassy in Manila forthwith. In a separate statement, Locsin himself said U.S. Embassy Deputy Chief on Mission John Law has received the notice. He said the Deputy Chief of Mission of the Embassy of the United States has received the notice of termination of the Visiting Forces Agreement. As a diplomatic courtesy, there will be no further factual announcements following this self-explanatory development. The VFA, established in 1999, provides a framework for defense forces cooperation and allows joint exercises between the two states. The U.S. Embassy in Manila described the move as a serious step with significant implication for the U.S.-Philippines alliance. In a statement, it said it will carefully consider how best to move forward to advance Manila and Washington's shared interests. The Philippines has sent to the United States the termination notice for the visiting forces agreement between the two countries, Palace spokesman Salvador Panelo said. President's spokesperson Salvador Panelo reiterated that Duterte's decision to scrap the VFA was in retaliation for U.S. Senators' interference in the case of Senator Laila de Lima, who is currently detained at the Philippine National Police Custodial Center at Camp Crame in Quezon City due to her involvement in illegal drugs.
Anyway, we would like to confirm the President directed the Executive Secretary Salvador Medellea to tell Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin of the Foreign Affairs to send a notice of termination to the U.S. government last night. And the Executive Secretary sent the message to Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin, and the latter signed the notice of termination and sent to the U.S. government today. 180 days from the receipt of the notice of termination. So, meron din namang mga ibang bansa na nag-offer. But as the President said, it's about time we rely on our own resources. We have to strengthen our own capability as a country relative to the defense of our land. Yan ang pinakaano ni Presidente. Mahirap yung keep on relying, lalo tayong humihina. Because I've been noticing that those who have been critical of the U.S. government policies have been given the preferential attention of the U.S. government. Pag nababanatan sila, sinusuyo nila. Yung mga kakampi nila, inaapi nila. Parang ganun ang dating. Kasi palaging si Presidente sinasabi niya, if we have to deal with other countries, we have to deal on the basis of equality and fairness. Hindi pa pwedeng one-sided agreement. Yan ang palaging sinasabi ni Presidente. Banning by the immigration authorities, Senator, or rather canceling his U.S. visa of Senator Bato, is an executive function, not the Senate of the U.S. Immigration yun, executive yun.
Panelo emphasized that Duterte felt that the actions made by U.S. lawmakers were as good as assaulting the country's sovereignty. At least 15 women and children drowned and more than 50 others were missing after a boat overloaded with Rohingya refugees sank off southern Bangladesh as it tried to reach Malaysia Tuesday, officials said. A Coast Guard spokesman told AFP some 138 people, mainly women and children, were packed on a trawler barely 13 meters long, trying to cross the Bay of Bengal. Another Coast Guard spokesman, Hamidul Islam, added it sank because of overloading and that the boat was meant to carry maximum 50 people, adding the boat was also loaded with some cargo. Nearly 1 million Rohingya live in squalid camps near Bangladesh's border with Myanmar, many fleeing the neighboring country after a 2017 brutal military crackdown. With few opportunities for jobs and education in the camps, thousands have tried to reach other countries like Malaysia and Thailand by attempting the hazardous 2,000-kilometer journey. In the latest incident, 71 people have been rescued, including 46 women. Among the dead, 11 were women and the rest children. Anwara Begum said 2 of her sons, aged 6 and 7, drowned in the tragedy. Fishermen tipped off the Coast Guard after they saw survivors swimming and crying for help in the sea. Survivors said the boat's keel hit undersea coral in shallow water off St. Martin's Island, Bangladesh's southernmost territory, before it sank. Coast Guard Commander Sohel Rana said 3 survivors, including a Bangladeshi, were detained over human trafficking allegations. An estimated 25,000 Rohingya left Bangladesh and Myanmar on boats in 2015, trying to get to Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. Hundreds drowned when overloaded boats sank. Joint Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA and Philippine National Police operatives seized around 10 kilos of shabu worth 68 million pesos from 2 foreigners in a buy-bust operation in Quezon City on Tuesday. Major General Debold Sinas, chief of the National Capital Region Police Office, identified the suspects as Lawrence Ikegwuruka, 27, and Micaela Agustin, 23, both Nigerian nationals and residents of Cavite. The suspects, who were put under surveillance for 3 months, were arrested beside the Amoranto Sports Complex along Don Alejandro Rosas Avenue at around 10 a.m. Seized from suspects were 10 kilograms of shabu placed in Ziploc bags and an orange Toyota Wigo with conduction sticker number P1J227. The suspects are now under PDEA custody, while the recovered pieces of evidence will be turned over to the PNP Crime Laboratory Office for technical examination. Charges for violation of Section 5 and 11, Article 2 of the Republic Act 9165 or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2022 will be filed against the suspects.
When visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. Some of the species that you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Welcome back. The United States said Monday it had provided health supplies to Laos in the first delivery from a pledge of up to $100 million in global assistance to fight the coronavirus. The U.S. Agency for International Development said it handed over equipment including 440 protective goggles and 1,500 surgical gowns to Laos, which borders China, the epicenter of the fast-spreading virus. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Friday promised up to $100 million in aid to China and other affected countries to counter the virus that has killed more than 900 people. Jim Richardson, the State Department's Director of Foreign Assistance Resources, said the Laos delivery was the first and that funding would primarily aim at containing the coronavirus. He said more announcements will be seen as they start tallying up how much assistance is needed. The assistance comes even as President Donald Trump administration looks to slash funding in support of global health efforts, which include projects to fight disease and encourage maternal health. A budget proposal released Monday, but which has already met fierce opposition in Congress, would cut global health spending by nearly half to just under $6 billion in the 2021 fiscal year. Richardson said that Laos, along with Pacific Island states Myanmar and Papua New Guinea, were considered priorities in the budget as the United States hopes to show an alternative to an increasingly assertive China. The World Health Organization on Tuesday said COVID-19 would be the new official name for the deadly coronavirus that was first identified in China on December 31.
We now have a name for the disease, and it is COVID-19, and I will spell it COVID-19. CO stands for corona, as you know. VI stands for virus, D for disease, so COVID.
Tedros said the name had been chosen to avoid references to a specific geographical location, animal species, or group of people in line with international recommendations for naming in order to avoid stigmatization. The WHO had earlier given the virus the temporary name of 2019 nCoV, acute respiratory disease, and China's National Health Commission this week said it was temporarily calling it novel coronavirus pneumonia, or NCP. Speaking on the first day of an international scientific conference in Geneva that will look at possible vaccine options to combat the virus, Tedros also said he saw a realistic chance of stopping the outbreak. He said they are not defenseless. They have to use the current window of opportunity to hit hard and stand in unison to fight the virus in every corner. And if they don't, they could have far more cases and far higher costs on their hands. The number of fatalities from China's new coronavirus epidemic jumped to 1,113 nationwide on Wednesday after another 97 deaths were reported by the National Health Commission. The figure is only the second time there has been a decline in the daily death toll and follows Tuesday's data showing 108 new fatalities. More than 44,600 people have been confirmed as infected by the pathogen across China. Around 2,000 new cases were reported on Wednesday, with 1,638 in the hard-hit province of Hubei, where the outbreak emerged in December. The new virus is believed to have emerged last year in a market that sells wild animals in Hubei's capital, Wuhan, the city at the center of the outbreak. The virus was officially named COVID-19 at a conference in Geneva held by the World Health Organization, where the body's chief said countries had a chance of stopping its global spread. WHO head Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said Tuesday that although 99% of cases are in China, where it remains very much an emergency, it also holds a very grave threat for the rest of the world. He urged countries to share data in order to further research the disease.
one step further and face the impossible. Time to search the unknown and fight for the truth. Time to overcome boundaries and connect the world. It's time for DW News.
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
Welcome back. The Film Development Council of the Philippines kicked off Philippine Cinema Centennial Year by honoring internationally award-winning film industry members at the agency's 4th annual Film Ambassadors Night. Where Philippines' brightest lights, brightest stars celebrated at the Maybank Performing Arts Theater in Bonifacio Global City, Taguig. Film Ambassadors Night, which inaugurated in 2017, has honored over 200 filmmakers with particular focus on those who represented the Philippines in the international arena. One of the honorees is Carlo Cuevas, winner of the Best Screenplay in International Film Festival Manhattan 2019 for the EBC Films Guerrero.
Gulat nga din ako may dumating na lang sa akin ng email, so nag-i-invite yung FDCP na magkakaroon doon ng Film Ambassadors Night at sobrang nakakatuwa kasi isa nga doon na marirecognize yung award ng Guerrero. Ayun, nagpapasalamat ako sa FDCP para pag-recognize sa award natin para sa pelikulang Guerrero sa Manhattan, New York. Nagka-award tayo doon ng Best Screenplay. So yun, maraming salamat sa FD. Siyempre, sobrang nakaka-proud at lalo nakaka-inspire na lalo pang gumawa ng pelikula. At the same time, parang masaya kasi yung pakiramdam na kahit sa maliit na bagay, nakakapag-ambag tayo sa success ng pelikulang Pilipino.
Honorees included the country's biggest talents, Brillante Mendoza, Julian Santos, June Robles Lana, Alex Aina Arumpak, and Raymond Ribay Gutierrez. EBC Films aims to provide quality, entertaining films that teach moral values by inspiring viewers and motivating them when they're feeling hopeless and influencing people to make the right decisions. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Maricar Velasco and I'm one with 25.